we actually need boundaries because our communication is not clear and open enough.
Exactly. On Night Ignition Podcast, the topic is boundaries, presented by Ula, the Lady Power Lady, and Mr. JP. What is the director is live. All right. So let's look at it. The definition of boundary is a line which marks the limits of an area, a dividing line. That's what boundary is. So then you have border, frontier, borderline, partition, dividing line, right? And when people set us up with this topic, right, when the chat voted on it and talked about boundaries, I think they weren't talking about these boundaries, right? Because they're pretty clear. It's a physical thing. It's like, here is Slovenia, here is Italy, and they say there is the line. But we just say physical, but that there is no physical line between Slovenia and Italy. There is one bush, a grass, another bush, and people are saying this bush is in Slovenia and the bush 30 centimeters away, it's in Italy. Imaginary, but all right. So anyway, the body has boundaries, right? It's just like my arm ends here. It doesn't go to here. So, but yeah. All right. So anyway, Ula, what do you and chat share with us, right? What does boundary? What is your definition of boundary? It's just like what when you hear boundaries, what is the first thing you think about?
Well, for me, when you said or chat said boundaries, I was actually thinking about, am I putting boundaries, to people? Am I clear enough how they are allowed to talk to me, allowed to behave around me? And then even me as a leader, as a businesswoman, am I putting clear boundaries, in a, I don't know, if you're a director, you have boundaries around how people should interact with you and things like that. So this is what was going on in my head.
All right. So Mrs. JP said, "Hi guys, did I miss much? Ty needed me." No, we had a little longer intro. Ura did the public speaking seminar, and she comes out speaking like an Indian guy. I guess that's what you get out of it. So we're just into a definition of boundaries, right? And for me, it's I don't know.
Something soft about you.
What?
She said that it's something soft about me.
Yeah, I told you, she looks different, right? She did a seminar on public speaking, so she is much more comfortable now sitting in front of the camera and talking, expressing herself. So I guess whatever money you paid, it was worth it.
True.
And she is now joking in an Indian accent as well. So there's something different about her voice as well. I'm sure you will find out later as we prolong. But anyway, I just asked the chat, everybody who's watching, like, what is your definition? When you hear boundaries, what is like, how do you define it? Or what pops into your mind? So for me, boundaries, it's always, if you look out into a physical world, all right, they make sense, right? So body has boundaries. It's like arm, nothing else. But inside of human mind, it's just like, when you think about boundaries, at the same time, what pops into my mind is limitation. So I kind of boundaries, limits, not limitations, boundaries, limits, right? But then when I think about, all right, will I just drop off? Hey, Karina, something strict. All right, got it. I don't know, Ula just dropped off, guys. How do I present myself here now to you? this is gonna work. I'm really big now because it has like zoom in a lot. Hey, it's Biznor. So we're just waiting for Ula to pop back on. I don't know what happened. She just dropped down. I asked her, "Is your internet good?" She said, "I have an amazing internet. Just the Discord is the problem." I said, "All right, let's go on Zoom." Now we're on Zoom and she's gone. Mrs. JP said it's a line which I don't cross, like drugs, putting naked pictures online. All right, but is that, I was always wondering, is that a boundary or is that a limit, like limitation? It's like, I don't know. That was always my thought in English. It's like, so yeah. I mean, we can have, I guess, Deadpool with us. Let's see. Oh yeah, it's gonna be like this. All right. Can we do it? We can do it. So it's Mr. JP and Deadpool. I don't know where Ula is, but this is what you got. This is what you will be left with until Ula is coming back. I really need to stretch myself to be so high up. But anyway, yeah, for me, Karina, do we stop the show or do we keep on going? You are the highlight master, the producer. Oh, there she is. Or...
Hello.
All right. What is now? Is the Zoom problem or what is now?
No, I think the computer doesn't like my Indian
accent. Yeah.
I don't know what's going on. I hope it's not going to happen again, but it's all meant to be.
All right. Keep on going, says Karina. I just asked if should I keep on going or we wait for you, and the producer said we keep on going. So perfect timing, you come back. So Mr. JP said it's so boundary for her. Karina said boundary is something strict. Mr. JP said it's a line which I don't cross, like drugs, putting naked pictures online. And then I said, boundary, or is that a limitation? I said, for me, limit is more like I can drink 3 glasses of wine and that is enough. Right. But what is the difference there? Could you said like my boundary is 3 glasses of wine and that is enough? Because you go to there and you don't cross it. Just like with you don't cross, when you get close to drugs, you don't go and take them, or you don't put naked pictures online. So that it was always like, what's the difference? What is more precise word to use for a human being when we describe that we have some sort of boundaries or limitations or lines, right? And I think that is all mushy, and that is also why our mind is mushy in a way, right? It's just like it's no clearances there. We're like wandering, like, all right, so for me to keep on going, for me, boundaries is just like it doesn't exist for a human being for regarding how we approach life, right? So it's in a mindset. You don't have boundaries in mindset, because that would mean like, I can think of 1 + 1 is 2, but if you have boundary on math, you would never be able to calculate 2 + 2 is 4, because there is a boundary. You can only go to 2 or to 3, right? And so boundary for our mind, for our mindset, just, I don't believe in it. In a physical body, yeah, right? Or in a physical things, there is a boundary to this cell block. If I cross over now, going out through my balcony, I will fall down 11 stories high. That is the boundary of a cell block, and it has integrity. All right, Mr. Rip said, for me, boundary is like something I never do. Like drugs, limitation would be I smoke weed twice per week, not more. I hope this makes sense. I mean, it does make sense. I'm not saying that how I say it is the right thing, or yours is the wrong, or yours is the right, mine is the wrong. It's just, it really depends also then how everything else evolves, or how everything else goes in our life. It's from these kind of definitions, from the words that we are using. So yeah, That for me, it's just like, I don't think there is a boundary, and there are lines I wouldn't cross. So maybe that's why we call it boundary. Now I'm like, it's a line said in the definition. So, but it's all imaginary, right? That is the one thing that I want to first point out. Like, for a human mindset, most of the things are imaginary. So even what you just said now, for me, boundary is like something I'd never do. But that is just something you will never do. It's not a boundary in reality, right? You just do drugs or you don't do drugs. There is no boundaries. You don't go like, or I want to do drugs, but I can't because there is a boundary, so I cannot reach to them, right? So that in my, how I approach it is like, no, it's just like you do or you don't, right? You say I will do the drugs, I will never do drugs, and then you don't do them. So it's a funny thing when we need to talk about boundaries. It's just like, what is your, can you imagine we are sitting in a bar, and then we're having a debate, chit chat like here, and then I ask you, all right, Karina, what is your boundary on men? Right? Like, what would you answer? What is the, I don't think that would ever pop up. Like, we'll be like, what kind of man do you like, or what kind of man do you don't like, right? Or like, do you do drugs? And you would say no. Rarely anybody would express no, because I have a boundary. I can't do drugs because there is a boundary I cannot go over. So, right, because that might mean that you want to do drugs, but you can't because something is physically blocking you. So just in that's how much thought I put into it. So I would more like say there are limits that we put on us, like on our mindset. We can say, all right, I can get this type of girl. I cannot get that type of girl because there is, you said it and you put the limit on it. So yeah, but anyway, if there's any boundary that I always talk about, and I invite you guys to look into it and see for yourself whether you use it or not. I say in the workshops to teenagers that we walk around with the wall, right? We have this wall, we call it MySpace. That's also one expression where people say, hey, don't come close, this is my space. And it's just like, no, until I'm in you, there is no space. It's our space. But anyway, right? So we're walking around with the wall. And on that wall, we have, the guns, the laser guns, all sorts of artillery. In front of the wall is the minefield, right? So and there we go. We walk around, right? And this is how we talk to people. This is how we, you say, oh, I'm so alone and I don't know why. Yeah, because when somebody come close and says, I love you, you don't believe them, you start shooting at them and they step on a mine, you blow them up, And in that, I would say we have boundaries. Just like in our expression of love or self-expression, I would say we have boundaries which we can metaphorically express. Like, this is a wall, this is a boundary. It's like, you want to, and then until you open it, no love can go out or come in. So, in that regard, I invite everybody, open those doors. And first of all, look for yourself, whether you have that boundary or not. And if you're single or if you're in a relationship that you're not happy or fulfilled, probably, most likely, but not certain, is that there is a minefield still existing, or there is some hidden laser gun, even though you consider yourself as I'm an open person, I love everybody, and then some type of person always annoys you and you have no love for them. Well, that is a hidden gun, that is a hidden laser. So just check for yourself inside of that. And as JP said, it's just an expression. When you want to put more seriousness into it, be more dramatic, this is my boundary, I won't do that. I can imagine me saying that. All right. When I think about boundaries, I think about how kids are often told to kiss a relative or something else they may not want to do at that moment, especially girls. All right. So that is a boundary you do not cross, or how would you say it then?
How I
know.
see,
That
sorry.
is, yeah, no. We were just debating before the podcast, like how should we roll that, right? How should we do this podcast on topic boundaries, which is like, that's why we're including so much of you. And thank you, Karina, Mrs. JP, and everybody else for joining in, because I have no clue. For me, it's just like such an off topic. I don't even know what to talk about on boundaries. I could talk like, yeah, I don't know. Well, I wanted to say something, and then we go on.
Yeah, I wanted to say that I will say for myself, I discovered that I feel safer when I say I have boundaries about that. It's almost like I'm putting there an invisible wall, and now I feel safer. And now I know what I should do. And even when I put boundaries for others, I'm like, okay, now you know what I'm expecting from you and what you're not allowed to do. And especially I know, because at least for me, when I don't feel confident, or I struggle with that feeling that I want people to like me, I will move my boundaries, just for them to like me, and then I'm gonna hurt myself with that. I'm gonna hurt myself, not they're gonna hurt me. And I feel so much safer when I put like a strict boundaries, even they are not there. And it's just like imaginary thing that kind of help me stick with something, with the plan.
Yeah, you said it perfectly also in the beginning. It's like you put boundaries so you feel safe. So for you, that's a safety net. We can call it like that. So, but anyway, yeah, I get it. And Ms. JP said, now that you said it, Ula, yes, for me, boundaries are connected with my values. Yeah, that is also what we talked when we looked into it. And I was like, yeah, but your values are your values, right? So you have boundaries around your values, or boundaries to protect your values.
Yeah, more that.
But then we were looking, I have just a thought how we can roll this podcast. So let's first go with also what Karina says. When I'm the person who comes to visit a family and the kid is being told to kiss me, I tell them they don't have to. And sometimes I don't want them to kiss me either. I just see it as a habit that teaches us not to have certain boundaries. I mean, yeah, it's a habit, and it also depends on the culture, right? Some cultures do kiss each other, some cultures don't. And then also, right, it's really something to look into for everybody. Just like Olaf said it perfectly. I set up boundaries to feel safe. All right. And then immediate question is, who are you threatened by? Why do you need to put
myself, threatened by myself, because
or give us an example. Give us an example.
Okay.
Outside on the court.
Okay. Let's say, okay, it's not a real one, but it's gonna be the easiest one to explain. Okay. Let's say my boundary is not to sleep with a guy on a first date.
All right.
Okay. Why I put that boundary? Because I'm afraid that my story, let's say my story in my head is that I'm a bad person if I sleep with a guy on a first date. So I put that boundary there to make sure that I'm not gonna do it, because even if I want to do it, no, I'm not gonna do it, because there's no boundary, and thanks God it's there, so I'm not gonna feel like a bad person. It's the stories. It's obviously just the stories from the past, but it's kind of worked that way.
All right, I got it. So it's to protect yourself from yourself,
Yeah.
but not really
Exactly.
owning the gun.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, now imagine it vividly, right? So let's imagine we have a castle, right? Now we have nothing. There's an empty field. And then there is us, and there's this gun on top of it, right? Which we built and is aiming at us. So now what Ula is doing with boundaries, she's putting a wall between her and the gun.
Yeah, exactly.
So she is not dealing with the gun. She is running from the gun. She put up a wall and said, hey, and she's now pretending it doesn't exist. Which is, then, all right, something interesting opening up, right? So it's like you don't deal with the gun, but you put walls. And now the funny thing is that you didn't only put the wall in front of that gun, you put the wall in front of every gun that might look like your gun. So every human being who comes in, and it might be a little bit, in your perspective, better than you, or something, just it might show you that you're not good enough, like in a far universe, like on the other side of the universe from our planet, whatever there is a wall. They cannot come to you. And that is what I said before, right? You put up a wall and we think, all right, now we feel safe. We're okay. But it's just like we don't put walls just for us. I mean, to protect ourselves from ourselves. But we then unconsciously also put a wall in front of you. Don't let other people in because of that. Because if you yourself is threat to you and you need boundary from yourself, then hell you need a lot of boundaries from 7 billion people on this planet. So yeah, just something to look into. Then it's a cool example. It's like, yeah, show something, right? And then boundaries about values, and what Karina said is just like, I'll say, because of boundaries, we human beings are also not connected. And we don't listen to each other. We don't really listen to each other. Like, I hear you, but I don't listen to you, right? So, or what is the other side? It's like, I listen to you, but I don't hear you. So, it's, and that is what boundary is doing. So my perspective is like, you don't need boundaries. They will damage you in the long way. You will either not live life fully, because you will pretend that when something is there that is not there, and that in itself it's inauthentic and it's costing you the aliveness, the well-being, or something. So all right, now it makes sense, the boundaries, I get that. So let's talk about boundaries around for values. Like, well, can you say a little bit more, Mr. JP, about it? Yes, for me, boundaries are connected with my values. So your value is, just give us an example. What is your value and how the boundary works with that value, or how value is using the boundary, or vice versa? And also for Karina, question, which boundaries is that to teach us, right? You said, I just see it as a habit that teaches us not to have certain boundaries. So, and then we can actually go into, look into what are the boundaries, why habits are teaching us not to have boundaries, and why is that a bad thing or good thing, or how does that actually impact us, right? My value is my family, so my boundary is I won't go and sleep with another man. All right. But now the question is, right? And this is also what me and Nula before discussed. It's so funny that comes up. It's so awesome. So now look at it this way, right? So Ula said, I'm married and I have, like you said, right? And there's a boundary. I will not sleep with another man. And then my question is, what is your family has to do with you not sleeping with other men, right? So you said, I have my family and my boundaries, I won't go and sleep with another man. So it's actually you want to go, but because you have family, there is this boundary between you and other men, right? And my assuming here would be that you didn't really put thought into what you are saying. It's just like they're naturally expressing, and I will show that what I mean by that. All right, so now let's first deal with Miss JP and then go to Karina's case. So, and then Ula said, all right, if not married, I'm in a relationship, I won't sleep with another man. And I'm like, all right, what does relationship has to do with not sleeping with the other man? You know, you can be in a relationship and sleep with other men. It's not a problem, right? I mean, that's not the boundary if there is any boundary. So the thing is, when you love somebody, you don't even have desire to be with another person. And love is not bounding you there. It's not a boundary. It's not a limitation. It's just, because you said you love that guy, you don't think about any other guy in that way that you think about that, right? So boundary, I would say it's something like Ula said before. You want to do something, but then you put a boundary in between so you don't do it. So it's basically you keep the bad wolf at bay. But sooner or later, every wall is, the time crushes every wall. And, in the end, you either die full of regrets and not living life fully, but you keep the wolf at bay.
And you know what just popped in my mind? Because you know how they say the forbidden fruit is the sweetest, something like that?
Yeah.
Because it's normal, right? Almost everybody in this planet put boundary. Oh, okay, now we are married or now we are in a relationship. So that's a boundary, that's a wall. And on the other side are hot, I know, ladies or sexy guys or whatever, but I'm not going to cross that boundary. But at the end, you're making it forbidden. So it gets even more, sweeter, and you really want it, but there's a boundary, and you want it, and there's a boundary. And obviously, at the end, it's like a tension in you're creating that extra tension in your life, in yourself, with setting the boundaries that are not meant to be set.
Exactly. With boundaries, you're limiting everything, right? And everybody, not just yourself, but also people around you. So Mr. JP said, okay, I get that. Good point. Maybe it's more like a common thing, how people should act. You're in a relationship, so don't sleep with others. Exactly. And relationship has nothing to do with sleeping with others, or marriage has nothing to do with sleeping with others. Just like, how many people are married and they sleep with others. So marriage is not a boundary, obviously.
Yeah. Right?
But it is a bad thing if you do that when you're married. I mean, it's perceived as a bad thing by ourselves and everybody else, which in itself is not even a bad thing. You're married and you slept with somebody else. Now, when you said you are the only one I want to spend life with, when you marry that person, and then when you do that, that's just being out of integrity. And then every out of integrity is having consequences. So you might get divorced, you may have a hard time from your spouse, whatever is coming your way. It's just because you were out of integrity. You didn't cross any line physically or any boundary. So yeah. All right, Karina said, personal space, that you have control of your body and what you want to do with it. This is especially important when it comes to gifts, that we don't feel obligated to do something because a relative brought you a gift. All right? So again, it has something to do with how you were brought up, or, because in my family, it's like when we meet, we hug and we kiss each other on a cheek. And nobody is forced to do that. Maybe when we were younger, we feel like a little awed by it. But then, I would say, nobody exploited that, so none of us is having a bad thing about it. So we are all huggers, Usha can confirm that. So because if you would look how she meets her family and how she meets my family, it's like how I meet her family every time, or meet my family. It's whole another level, right? With my family, we hug, give kisses on cheek. With her family, it's in these times, it's not even a hand. We are having uh, you know, there is a space. We don't do
Distance.
that distance. So it's like for each his own. So I get that, Karina, and I would agree that maybe for some things we should ask people, right? I think that is what you're pointing to. It's like, is that okay with you? And then
that has
sorry, say it.
That has more to do with respect, actually, right?
Yeah, but then in the end, when you look boundaries with us people, you will see everything is there: respect, responsibility, value, a relation. Everything will suddenly appear as a boundary, or everything will appear as not as boundary, but it's let's say as a part of boundary. And then the question here is, why do we need boundaries? Right? And that is also for you, everybody who is listening. Just feel into the, just get into conversation from wherever. So, why do we need boundaries, human beings? Like in how yeah, just that is the question. Why do we need boundaries?
We actually need boundaries because our communication is not clear and open enough.
Exactly. And that itself is a boundary in our communication, or a limit in our communication, however you want to say, right? So we don't have a clear communication. We don't like something, and we do not express that. We push it in. We don't say it out. We suppress it, and then somebody kisses us on our cheek, or we kiss somebody else on their cheek, and we don't say anything. And then suddenly it's a fault of everybody else, but not my fault. So now when you look at it this way, we human beings also have boundaries, so we don't have to be responsible. Right? I think it's culture thing, what is acceptable and what is not. Exactly. And then you go again, right? Who said that? Where's, because that the thing is that those things are not written anywhere. You don't have a piece of paper saying this is the boundary for, this and that. So it's not, right? So it's like, this is the phenomenon of human beings. So somebody come up with this certain time ago, and then so many people agreed on it that now it's a common agreement between human beings. And it's, so to speak, then because something normal, something ordinary, right? So that is it. It's a cultural or a society's norm, and we need to follow it, whether we like it or not. Why? Because everybody is doing it. And then my question always is, who is everybody? And people say everybody, and I'm like, all right, who is everybody? Yeah, well, this guy, that guy, this guy, that girl. And I'm like, that's 4 people. That's not everybody. Who is everybody? So, when you go into clear communication, it's exactly what Yula said. We do not communicate clearly, and then we need boundaries, so we put excuses on it. We can also put excuses as a part of boundaries. So then you have a good excuse, right? I don't do that because that's my boundary.
That's a good one, yeah. I'm like, stop it.
Right? I won't say I love you, even though I feel I love you, because it's not 20 dates, because we haven't been on 20 dates yet. So I will not say. Just because, And then you go. You just put a boundary on your self-expression. You feel something, and because you were hurt in the past, you don't say it. And then you need the rules. You need boundaries, And then Ula might meet a great guy on a first date, and she, like you said, I have sex with him, and then, you won't go to a second date because you will step over your boundary. So whatever happens, it has nothing to do with that guy. It's all about you. So it might be your Prince Charming, and it's not gonna work out because you have this boundary. And it's all about boundary. It's not about meeting people. And that is what I meant before. We're walking around with walls, and we want to be loved, and we want to love. But it's not happening until the wall is closed, and you have the minefield in front of it, and you have all the machine guns on top of the walls, and laser guns, and anti-aircraft, so nobody flies in, so you see them coming. They need to come slow at your pace. So if they go too fast, you have minefield, slow down, and by the time you think you're ready and you want to open your wall, they're already bored, and they go. They're not bored, they're too hurt to be around you anymore, and they go. For some people that is 2 weeks, for some is 10 years. Doesn't matter, but the wall is there. You don't let them in, and you don't let yourself go out. And there's also, because there's not one wall, so behind this big wall for other people, you have many mini walls for yourself, like Kula said before. I have this bad wolf saying I'm not good enough, so I need to put a wall so he doesn't come out. So yeah. And then you're used to build walls, boundaries, and then you have bounded life, if that is even a word, but limited life. It's just like it. And then people live like not many things are possible for them. And I have one life for me as now. It's just like we're doing these talk shows and podcasts and everything. Especially for talk shows, I want to also bring like big people big people, how to say, successful people who are well-known successful, like Matjaž Modiš, who is a couple of times EuroLeague champion, the Slovenian, and he's retired now. So how it was for him, right, growing up. We just hosted his brother, who shared how it was for him growing up next to Matjaž. So it would be really cool. And then I said it in a show with Nate, I said it, yeah, but this channel, this stream needs to grow, so I can have Matjaž in the show. Like, he can only be a guest when we have 100 viewers. Before that, and it also comes because there are some people who are not having a big names like him, and they just ask me, so how many people is watching? Some guy asked me, what is your reach? Like, how many people my channel's reach? And I didn't even answer that guy. For me, it was like, that's a threat question. I'm not even going into that. I want to deal with people who ask this kind of questions. And I will go into communication with him, even though it's 2 months afterwards. But at that moment, that question just, like, I don't know, it brought something up that I was like, all right, you're more about the reach than what we're up to. I'm not gonna. Which even that is not the truth. That's my story, right? He just asked a question. That's all there is. Doesn't mean anything else, but what is my reach? And I could say, look, my reach is, I don't know, altogether 50 to 100 people. Not live. Live is average from all the shows is around 10. So, but then when you put like how many people pop by and stuff like that, it's around there, around 100. With all the other channels combined. So, right? But because for me that exists, like that is not big enough, right? There's the limitation. I also set limitations in my life like this, because for me the harder thing is to be proud of myself. So that is an excuse that I said before. We have boundaries to have an excuses. So there we go, right? I'm doing this thing that I love to do. I love to be here in front of this camera and stream and do talk shows and podcasts and game, expose myself, so to say. And at the same time, it's not big enough yet. When it will be, I have no clue. For my mind, for my wolf, it never will be. Even though if I sit here with 100,000 people, I'll be like, all right. But if I have 100,000, I could have 500,000. So let's look to have 500,000. And that's not good enough. There's nothing to be proud of. If you know you could have 500,000, you have 100,000. What is there to be proud of? So that just letting you into my mind. So that is example for me how I set boundaries. And then of course, how they still did not. But Nate said a great thing the other day, man, that is just your limitation or boundary. You will have guests big as how big you're thinking or how big you allow yourself to be. And that is what I meant before. We walk around with the walls and all these mini walls. And until you crush the mini walls inside and open the big wall so that it can be crushed from both sides, right? Because being in a relationship is getting to know yourself even better, right? Because somebody else is coming in and they're tearing down walls. Also help you tear down walls that you have on your own limit, on your own capabilities and abilities and pushing yourself. And you're doing it from the other side, right? So it's just like, this is what then you can expand. Because until we have boundaries, we cannot expand. It's just like it's impossible. This is it. To this wall. And until you open the gate, there is no expansion. And the thing is, expansion is not comfortable. It's not safe. So to go back, when Ula said, I have boundaries, so I feel safe. Yes, that is cool. But comfort zone? We feel safe when we are in comfort zone. That is like, we know that, right? And then you have people who transform their mindset into that they only feel safe with their tearing down walls or for their own and everybody else's. But they're called nuts, they're called crazy, and they're usually millionaires, billionaires, and stuff like that. Usually, or very happy people that everybody else think they're hiding something. All right, and Mr. JP said, you see, and then you got the wife who is the same. Yeah, right? And that is why we are together. So this is it. We can put limit and we will support each other, right? We created the relationship being loving, supporting, and fun. So it always comes in a funny way. So we will support each other in growing, and we will support each other in putting limitations. And then, we need to recognize that for each other and push each other through that. And it's not comfortable, especially when somebody who you love does that. It feels like, all right, this relationship is not for me. He's all the time pushing me to do something I don't want to do. I'm not going to do it anymore. I'm out. All right, well, sorry, you were sharing that.
Let me go back. So I want to say that those walls are not actually around us. They're in us, right?
Mm-hmm.
In our own personal world. So actually nobody else can put those walls down. It's just us that can do that. And the other thing is that we create our outside world from our inside world. So if there are like walls inside, there are walls outside also. So I put the walls on my path, and then I'm thinking, oh my God, why this is so hard? Why it's so hard to get in a good, loving relationship? Why it's so hard to, I don't know, why it's so hard to get good at something and transform it into my business? It's actually because I'm just having those whole walls inside me. I'm just projecting them outside the world.
Yeah, I agree. And here's the funny thing, right? So I'm actually, for those of you guys who don't know, we will move to a house with Ursha and Tai on 1st of June. So and that house is on top of this, let's call it the hill. It's not that high, right? And I think I don't know even the altitude what it is, but anyway, it's on top of the hill. You see whole valley below it. And it's a little bit hard to find. It's like you Google Maps will do not drive you there. You need to call me to explain you to there's another route. And actually the road that is coming to our place is not even on Google Maps. It goes a little bit around through neighbors, but there is a shorter way to go direct to it. But it's not even on that. And then thinking of that is like, we could say like it goes with what Ursha said before, right? So you get a wife who is the same. So we like peace, right? We like to be, the family is our own oasis, you know. So that is all. That is one thing which is like fulfilling here, and the other thing is we like to be left alone. So if you can find us, we are left alone, and then only us are saying who will, who can come to us. Because if you're living in, in a well-reached area, but it's well-reached, it's like easy road, it's not hard road, it's just like it's a little bit of wood road that is gonna get asphalt over it in 1 year. So it's just like, but what you just said is great. Yeah, but your inner world presents your outer world, and nothing is wrong. It's not like anybody is good or bad because of that, because that works for me. I want to have my family the peaceful place on the, that I can see, and that there's like, not a lot of close neighbors by, because I'm talking to so many people during the day over the phone or Zoom, that when I step into my family's world, right, or in the house, if I imagine myself, when I step out, it's really cool, to just be with them, present to them, and nobody else is penetrating that, and if that is would happen or will happen, I would just communicate that with those people. Look, let's have an agreement. It doesn't work for me that you just pop by and start talking to me, because I have a really tight schedule. This is my family time. I want to be with them, present with the kids for these 2 hours. So I would really love to hear what you have to say. So can we talk later when they will be asleep for 15 minutes, or how long do you think we need, right? Because there is one thing that is also, for me now, it's like, how to say, doesn't work very well, is this chit chat, that you just pop in and just chit chat for 15-20 minutes, don't do anything, nothing. It doesn't make any difference, that conversation. You don't connect to that conversation. You just chit chat about something. Yeah, or I don't know how the lightnings are striking this hill 1 kilometer away, and that is threatening to me. Why? It's 1 kilometer away. That's far away. so yeah. Kind of a that thing. So so yeah, I would say, when we put up boundaries, it's just like it goes everywhere. And then the consequence now that we open up, and it's really cool, right? We just discovered this. We have no clue how we should run this podcast today, because I was like, boundaries? That's ridiculous topic. There are no boundaries, I mean, in that sense. And then we can look at the impact or consequences, and they're humongous, It's just like, I might, because I have this boundary, I don't invite everybody or type to everybody, would you be part of my show, or ask them, right? Would you be a guest? I see you could give this, that, and that. And that is why, in that sense, we are not growing as fast as we could. Even though I don't know if that is even true, right? But, just putting out there and thinking, I'm not big enough yet, I'm not respected enough yet, I don't own it big enough, right? So he has 3 European Champions League titles. What do I have, right? It's like, regarding to him, right? He has, I don't know, that many material things. What do I have, right? And that is a funny thing, that the impact for me is that I just belittle myself based on material things, right? And then I'm just discovering that now. I wasn't present that before, that it goes this way. I'm just sharing how my thought process usually is going. So yeah, all right, I'm belittling myself in that way based on material thing, and that is good to see. So now I can, and yeah, it has an impact, right? Then you're nervous because you don't do everything, because you wanted to type and you don't, and then you think, should I, should not, and say, oh no, I'm not big enough, I will do it, I don't know when. Usually goes with the answer
tomorrow.
Never. Usually go with the answer tomorrow, which ends up in never.
Yeah.
So yeah, All right, that is cool to see. That is cool to see. It's like an opening, right? And yeah, it's also, heaven's also like that, right? So we are gonna rent the house, right? And I told to some of close of my friends, and the feedback was like, from some is like, all right, awesome. From some was like, all right, if you have it, you can do it, right? In a sense, in Slovenian is ima se može se, but even not in
Yeah.
Slovenian, in Serbo-Croatian, but it's just like, And then one said, I have a month credit of the as much how high your rent is, and I own the house, right? And the years are popping by. He said, the years are running, so it's just like. And the funny thing is, I'm not threatened by years. I don't care, you know. I said we have and the map. He said, "All right, that's my credit." I said, "Yeah, but we have a plan." And he said, "Yeah, but years are running by." And I'm like, "Yeah, all right, but
But
what?"
you never know how many years you have left.
Exactly, and the other thing
Have
is
1 year.
yeah, and the other thing is what? Will I carry the house in the grave with me, or you know what I mean? And
Yeah,
we still,
maybe.
yeah, maybe if there's apocalypse, I'm joking, but it's just. But it's nothing is wrong with anything that I'm saying with whatever this guy said. It's just a funny thing, like to observe how we people react to it and what is then going behind. So you could hear that with these guys a little bit like, all right, years are coming. I have to leave fast because otherwise I will miss things. And in the other, he's always afraid he's missing. It's like the hamster running in your head. So yeah, I'm like really calm because we know if we go now take that kind of credit, we need to live somewhere, right? So when you put it out in reality, so you put that amount of a credit monthly on into these costs now, and it's like unsustainable at the moment, right? So going from this place, which we had a plan to rent it for another 5 years anyway. We go just to a bigger and on the ground and peaceful with not, you know what I mean? It's like going from Ljubljana to a house that the nearest village is 300 meters away. It's not even in a village. It's like it is a part of the village, but it's above the village, and another one is 300 meters away. So for not that much money more, just like it much makes sense, right? And then the thing is, and here another boundary can come in, which is really, this one is we can really talk about, right? So why do we need to explain ourselves all the time? Why don't we put boundary on explaining ourselves? Right? It's not sharing yourself. It's like Ula says, I will buy a new car. And then I'm like, all right, where do you have money for? Did you steal something? And then you will start, no, I didn't steal. I work there, so I have it, la, 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 la. And you start explaining yourself. And there you don't have boundaries, so to say. But maybe it would be healthy to have, like saying, hey, man, how I earn my money and how I will afford this car is my thing. What you should be interested in, and then we go in this, what you should be, right? It's just like, are you happy? Is this the car that you want? And there we can shift the conversation into like, all right, you're buying which car? This, whatever, Mercedes A-Class. All right. And what is your dream car? Mercedes E-Class. All right. Why don't you buy E-Class? And they will be like, yeah, because this, and I'll be like, all right, but what can we do? Like, tell me, is there any way you could do it and have E-Class now? Why would you wait? Well, why don't we have this kind of conversation? Why do we have, all right, how can you afford it?
Yeah, like, empowering conversations would would be much more empowering.
Yeah, and then we can ask her why we don't set boundary there and say, look, man, why don't you ask me if I'm happy? Why don't you ask me if I'm satisfied? Why are you asking me if I can afford this? Why are you sharing with me? Or people just go sharing the thought, oh, I think this is too expensive, it's not worth it. And I'm like,
did I ask you?
yeah, what should I do with that? What do you want me
Yeah.
to say now? Should I say, all right, it really is, I'm not going to do it, and you will be happy? I mean, so then I'm thinking about, would that be some place where you could set boundary? And then again is, how you communicate that. So boundaries is, anyway, we already discovered, it's in conversation, it's in communication, it's in language, right? So, you just say, look, I'm gonna do it whether you like it or not. But then you again goes like into a fight with that person, whether you like it or not. I'm gonna do it whether you like it or not. It's just like, I don't know. That is where I'm stopped actually now in life. With some people, it's like how to communicate that with them. That what it gets out what I want to communicate, and it doesn't even matter whether they understand or not. It's more the matter of that they get hurt, and my communication landing like, all right, I get your point, and I'm gonna do it because this is what we want. And then again, people might come back like saying, yeah, you don't really get me. If you would get me, you would listen to me. But then we can go in conversation that has nothing to do. One has nothing to do with the other. But yeah, so boundaries, maybe that those would be good boundaries if we set in like, all right, the boundaries that might work for us. It's like boundaries so that we stop explaining ourselves so much.
Or you just stop explaining yourself and you don't need a boundary on that. You know what I mean? You just decide. It's not like every time I'm not gonna blah blah blah. But if we would be more present in the moment and we would be by stories in our head, we could decide in a specific moment, I'm not gonna explain it to you.
Yeah, but then right, I'm also always wondering, like when we say we don't believe stories in our head, if everybody gets that, because for some people that exists as reality. That's how it is. They don't perceive it as a story. So yeah, and we explain it. It's like this little boy that is always talking, blah 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 blah. This is a good show, bad show. They're good casters, they're bad casters. I like this, I don't like that. Why is there a Deadpool head? Where is there a caricature of that old guy? Who is that old guy? No, all the time, nothing being actually said out or typed in the chat, just people thinking. Those are the stories. It has nothing to do with what is going on. It's just your evaluation, and it's not reality. It's just that's what we meant by stories. But and yeah, in the end, it's just like that. What you just said, boundaries do not exist. In my point, it's just like you do it or you don't. And it's more or less you can come. If there would be no boundaries, how would our life look like, right? If we ask ourselves this question, if you wouldn't have boundaries, how would your life look like? And don't answer it right away. I think most of us don't know. Because we're even having boundaries on how big we think. Right? But just look into it and dwell into it and search it, and if you want, share with us what you just discovered if you answer this question for yourself. So how would your life look if you didn't have boundaries? Would it look even more scary? Would it be like, yeah, but then everybody would exploit me, and then, I don't know what else, or you see there would be more love in your life, or whatever. You can share with us what would be possible for you if you didn't have boundaries. And then in the end, when I said we explain ourselves, it's just like there's nothing wrong with explaining yourself. You just want people to get you and hear you and listen to you, which is not a bad thing. And I always say, if you tell the truth, you have nothing to be scared of. Will some people exploit it? Yeah, they will. Now, is that hurting you? Only if you're not okay with that. So There we go. Karina said it would be fun and carefree, right? Now you know what you're gonna do with it. And it would be. It would be so. If anything else, in the end, I will put it in one word. It would be fulfilling. A lot, if we compare it to what we have now, a lot more. If we would live life without boundaries. And we have so many boundaries. When you start looking into it, bro. And yeah, and I said it, like breaking them, it's not comfortable. Like, I can share it like I so it's a real life case. I won't use people's names or the exact amounts or stuff like that. But let's just say it like this, right? So I tell a friend that at the moment, because of this situation, I'm earning, I don't know, let's say 1,000 euros, right? It's left after I pay the costs. And I didn't tell that to the other friend. And although he is a really good friend with the other guy as well, so that other guy now knows that, and they're using that like in a way against me. Like, how are you going to do that? Or living on a 1,000 euro? You know what I mean? Just like, you can't afford this. How are you going to afford a house renting for 800 euros if you have 1,000 euros? You're going to go bankrupt. And the funny thing is, none of them is asking me what is the current state, because that was communicated half a year ago. Do you get it? That's how, they're not interested in me. I just shared something with them in a manner of, that we would have a better relationship, and they don't want it. Like, maybe they want it and they're just, doing whatever they're doing. So in this situation, which is the real life, is just not in the terms that I said, but it's happening in that manner. I'm just stopped, what to do next with those two. I can cut them off, but I can't really, and because they're not just friends, that's why they're part of the broader family. Anyway, you can't cut them off. So just like what to do, right? How to communicate that. So that there are no disruptions, because it's gonna affect more people than just me and those two people. So, should I just let it go and not do anything about it? Or should I go and just communicate, all right, I said that to you, from now on our communication is gonna be this, and that way. I don't trust you anymore, which is gonna have a backfire on long term. I'm just like, here I'm stopped. I don't know what to say to do. Or who to be around them. Like, because at the moment I have this boundary. I'm not gonna share much with them anymore. It's a waste of my energy, time, and words. But it's gonna have a backfire if I do that.
Well, you can decide to do that, or you can decide not to do that. If you stop talking and you decide to keep a grudge, is that the word?
Yeah.
Right? It's gonna, at the end, it's gonna affect you the most.
Exactly.
How I see it, and I know that you are more than capable to go and talk to them without being angry at them, and just seeing that the thing that they are doing, they are just acting the way that they're, I don't know, on that, they are on that level, and you are on that level, and sometimes you just get annoyed by those people because you wouldn't do that way, right? But they did it, and it's just normal for them. Because when I see normal people, average people communicate, they don't even think about what they're saying. They are not thinking. This girl is talking about that girl, and then that girl is go to the third girl, and she's saying, "Oh, this girl said that," and it's just such a mess, and it has nothing to do with making anything better in this world. But that's just their level. So how how I'm trying to act is to help them reach that level. Sometimes I'm just like, fuck you all, I have enough of you and your stupid shit. But still, at the end, I'm like, okay, what kind of world do I want to create around myself? I need to be that kind of person to create that world. So this is not what I want. So yeah, I think you're gonna do the right thing. So easy busy for you.
If there is the right thing. Yeah, Karina said get their commitment. I mean, I get their commitment, but the way they're expressing it is so odd for me at the moment. It's so not something that I'm used to, or how to say, or it's even, just like, if you had a nightmare and then it comes true in kind of way, right? Just like that. From my experience, when people talk in such a way about money, a person is out of concern. Yeah, of course, he's out of concern for us, right? For me and my family. I get that, And here's the thing: how do you communicate that through? I mean, I will have to discover it, obviously, but maybe somebody has experience and you can share with me. If their reaction, let's say it that way, because they're not that way, they just react in a cynical and skeptical way on whatever whatever I say, I would say. I don't know. It's in that way, right? It's just like, and the key is, and I'm saying that to many other people, like, listen to their commitment, like whatever they communicate doesn't really matter the words they're using. It's listen to the commitment and you will get them. And it still reactivates me. It's just that. It reactivates me so hard, man. I would use those machine guns, the laser guns, and I bet I sometimes do, and it's not comfortable. Yeah, and they also get easily offended. Yeah. So you have that, right? You get their commitment. They're cynical and skeptical, but if you expose any of that, if you show them the mirror, they're offended. So how to get through that I don't show them a mirror and to be talking to them, it's just like, man, it's a next level of mastery of communication for me, I would say.
Can you try to show them an impact that what they did had on you?
Yeah, we communicated that. Doesn't change it. But okay. It's like they're deaf.
Yeah, some people are actually.
Yeah. It's like it's not that I didn't try anything or it's just like, and then I'm like, all right, they are the way they are. Just accept them who they are, and we're gonna keep on doing our thing. And that was okay before we were just a couple. Now that we're a family, I'm like, I wanna. Then we can go into that. No, we're talking about boundaries. Here it's clearly to set the boundaries, to in a way protect my son from those kind of people, because they, if you let the toxic people, you will get that out of I don't want that for my boy. I mean, he will meet the toxicity sooner or later, but it's just like, if somebody is not respecting you, would you let that person be around your kid or not? Right?
No, I wouldn't let them be around me.
Exactly.
Yeah, but there's one thing I wanted to share with you. One person that's really successful in business and she has a really high mindset and everything. She would be saying to me, you have to know, but it's lonely at the top. It's nice and it's cool and it's a nice view, but it's pretty lonely. And I was like, yeah, that you're saying that because I don't know, you're this and that, all the stories. But in the last 2 years that I'm climbing up in my mindset, in my business and everything, I can see that's actually true. And some people are just gonna stay down there, and you can do whatever you want. They're not gonna move. And you have just you know how they say, you were dancing together like polka. You were dancing polka together, and now you learn to dance, I don't know, cha-cha-cha, and they're like, oh, you should dance with us polka. And you're like, I'm sorry guys, you can learn cha-cha-cha or we're not gonna dance together anymore. And sometimes it's just like that.
So Karina said, "Call me." Yeah, I agree. I got that. Yeah. So Karina, but then you always have a choice. I would say, look, if you like you were saying, to use your term, right? If you go up, it's way easy for you to go on their level and start and dance polka with them here and there, and then go and dance cha cha cha. Because if you are keep on saying, I can't dance polka with you because I know cha cha cha, it's just like you're a little arrogant, right?
Yeah, or you don't want to.
Yeah, or
you can decide,
Yeah. But then when it comes to relationship with people, I would say if they're dancing polka and you're dancing cha 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 and you want to have a loving relationship,
that's other thing.
It's just not gonna go. You gotta go and dance polka with them.
Yeah, if you want to have a loving relationship with them, or you can just decide you're not gonna have a relationship with them.
Yeah. So Mr. JPO said, like describing our house, we are moving to the place which we actually feel inside. Can you say a bit more about that? I kind of lost it there. Would you mean when Ulo was sharing being on the top? Because it's on top of the hill, right? And you see the whole
Good. You see, it's lonely at the top. I told you.
Yeah. But then we have a big picnic yard that people will pop by. I will gladly host friends.
Yeah.
And
if we will find you.
yeah, on the top of the hill with a nice view. Yeah, right. Yeah, and it's also, but I would say we also pick that place because both our schedules are getting busier and busier. So when we want to step out of, because one room, it will be office for both of us. So I would say the intention is when we step outside the office, we kind of can breathe and just be with the family, with each other, like so yeah. But not all the time. It's just like, of course, relatives will pop by and friends. We have a nice picnic place, a big one, so we can have fun there and good times. But yeah, I would say, yeah, I agree. This is and it's not coming from a place I feel. I really don't like this term, I'm not above anybody else. I'm just a human being. You're a human being. I was just, what is on the way, it's our communication.
I'm not saying that you're above them. Yeah. I'm saying that your way of communicating is further, okay?
All right.
Than you know what I mean? Your mindset, your idea of the world, of life, and everything. And they can, so they see this and you see that. So that's what I meant.
Yeah. And then it's like it's now kind of I get it. It's scary for those people that see this, like you said, like that. And then when you see it like that, because they don't see it and they're afraid of what they don't see. And then the more narrow your look is, I would say, the more afraid you are in life. Because there are things behind it, right? You know it. Because when you were a kid, you were like that. And then it starts closing. The boundaries start kicking in with years, right? Then if you look life like that, and that is possible, all of that, it starts feeling like a threat. It's a scary place. You don't want to go there. And if you really love somebody, you don't want them to go there. So if you wouldn't do it, and they're doing it and you love them, you're afraid for them, right? What if they fail? What if that happens?
Yeah.
What if that happens? So
Yeah, exactly. Ursha,
yeah.
I hope I'm gonna get to you and not get lost in the woods.
Nah, otherwise it's really easy to find. It's really
horror
easy to
movie.
find. It's really easy to find. I just made a picture. So Ursha's mom and her partner and her grandfather and grandmother already went to check it out. So, and if it's not like if they found it, anybody can find it because they're human beings. So if they found it, anybody can find it. It's not that hard. When we tell you directions, you will find out if you're our friend or not. Maybe you come to us or get lost in the woods.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I was.
It will be on you and the woods. That's it. Good one. Nice. Good one. All right, this is it on tonight's topic, boundaries on Night Ignition podcast. Thank you all for being with us. It was fun. Thank you to listening what is going on with me inside. I hope you recognize yourself in some things and you get some pointers how to move yourself and or maybe tear down some boundaries or at least go and try and discover it. But yeah, bye.